Hello everyone. So today I wanted to give you some suggestions and things that you can do in your lifestyle easily that can lead towards a lot of energy, good health, longevity. And we know that inflammation is a really big key player in the creation of a lot of health problems and diseases. So, for example, if you've got inflammation building up for a long time in your joints and in your gut, then that's an indication that there's a lot of problems brewing there. And so you would need to address the inflammation to lower it so that those areas don't deteriorate further. So there is a protein in the body that is measured that we look at to see whether or not there's too much inflammation or the inflammation levels are good. And that's called the C-reactive protein. And we can use that as tests as a biomarker for a lot of different diseases like heart problems, any type of heart disease, circulatory diseases, diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, a lot of things having to do with the circulatory system and the heart. So that's another area where inflammation tends to be high. And the way that the body deals with inflammation is also influenced by genetics. So there's a particular gene called the CRPRS1205 gene, not to get real technical, but that's a gene that dictates or influences whether or not the body is prone to having high levels of inflammation or not. So why would this be important for you to know? If you know that you've got this particular gene and the way that it's expressed in the body to influence inflammation, then you can take measures in how you take care of yourself, how you live your life, what you eat, to help lower inflammation so that this particular gene does not trigger or be activated in a way that's going to contribute to high inflammation levels, high levels of the CRP, the C-reactive protein in your blood and in your body that would create problems. So the way that we can look for this in the genetics is called whether or not we have the SNP, SNP for this particular gene. So SNP means a single nucleotide polymorphism. So to put it shortly or to easily digestible, then that's just a gene or the way the gene is expressed that causes certain functions. Now some SNPs or genes dictate our hair color, our eye color, our skin color, and those are just typical things that we inherit. We also inherit traits within the genes that are actionable, meaning when they are triggered or active, then their resulting function can lead to certain problems. So in this case, if you have this particular gene for the CRP gene and it's active, then it means that your body has a harder time dealing with and maintaining healthy inflammatory levels. So this is why it's important to know whether or not you've got that so that you can then take care of yourself in how you eat, how you do your life, so that you can minimize the activity of that particular gene and lower the inflammation. So there's a common test that you can take to measure the CRP, the C-reactive protein in your blood, and doctors can do that for you. It's just a biomarker, as I mentioned, to whether or not you're prone to certain problems, like in the heart, your heart and lungs, heart and circulatory system, your high blood pressure, cholesterol, and such things like that. So if you do have that test, then you'll know what you need to work with. So I wanted to give you some suggestions in addition to that today so that you can still lower inflammation and still bypass any potential problems. So I'm going to refer to a few notes, so just bear with me on this. For women who are on birth control pills over time, that can lead to elevated CRP, or the elevated inflammation in the body. There's also things like smoking, a sedentary lifestyle, the wrong diet that can contribute to high inflammation or this high C-reactive protein in your bloodstream and in your body. So you'd want to look at those things to see what you're doing, how you're living your life, and make some modifications. Also, if you don't have a lot of physical activity, if you're living a sedentary lifestyle, if you're overweight, if you have too much alcohol, all of that can contribute to excess inflammation in your body, which causes problems down the road if it doesn't get corrected. So when you have a test that measures the CRP, the C-reactive protein, then it's simply a biomarker. It just says that there's an issue here that you need to address. It doesn't mean that you've got a problem yet. It may or may not. It doesn't necessarily mean that, but it does mean that there's too much inflammation going on in your body that you do need to take care of. So vitamin C is one way that has been shown to help lower the C-reactive protein and help the body deal with inflammation. When CRP, the C-reactive protein, is made, it's made in your liver, and then it goes into your blood, and then it circles around in your body in response to inflammation. Inflammation is your body's way of protecting your tissues if you've been injured or have an infection. It can cause pain, redness, swelling in injured or affected areas. So if you have a lot of swelling in your gut, then that is inflammation. Then you need to look at, what are you eating? What kinds of foods are irritating your gut, your intestines, your whole digestive tract, that's setting off the marker, the CRP protein, to deal with the inflammation, to kind of offset the irritation. So everything starts in the gut. All kinds of problems, all kinds of disease and health begins in the gut. So we really want to take a look at that. So if you've had severe infections like bacterial infections, a fungal infection, inflammatory bowel disease, which is something that causes swelling and bleeding in the intestines, then that's something that's an indicator that you've got too much inflammation going on in your body. Also, if you have an autoimmune condition like lupus or rheumatoid arthritis, then that definitely is a result of, or is worsened by, too much inflammation in your body. So if you've had things like a lot of chills, a lot of fever, a lot of rapid breathing, rapid heartbeat, nausea and vomiting from an infection, then that may be an indication that you would want to get your CRP levels checked and tested to see if the infection that you had really set off the inflammation levels in your body that's wreaking havoc or can create some problems. Okay? Also, if you have too much inflammation in your body for too long of a time, then it can contribute to age-related diseases, cognitive diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, and even cancer. So you really want to watch the inflammation levels in your body. And if you have this SNP in your genetics, then you definitely want to take some measures to lower inflammation so that it doesn't create more problems down the road. Because if you have this SNP or this gene, then it means your body does not deal with inflammation levels very easily or even very properly. And so it could be easier for you to have inflammation get out of control and contribute to some of these problems. Okay, so what are some of the things that you can do as far as lifestyle to help? You'd want to make sure that you have regular exercise and movement for a healthy cardio exercises for healthy lungs and heart and circulatory system. You want to keep your weight under control, which has a lot to do with mindset and lifestyle and diet. You want to practice reducing stress, because as we know, stress is one of the big contributing factors to creating inflammation. And that stress can come in a lot of different ways. It can come in dietary stress from the food that you eat, especially if it's gross, crappy, unhealthy food. Stress can come in the form of mental and emotional stress from just dealing with your life, with relationships. And when you're stuck in stressful situations for too long, then cortisol levels change and your hormones levels change, your nervous system gets out of whack, and all of that sets you up for more inflammation in the tissues, which creates this snowball effect, and then you're setting yourself up for some problems. Okay, another thing that you can do is get enough sleep. So many people have sleep problems, or they don't want to take the 8 hours necessary to sleep, or when they do lay down, then they can't shut their mind off. Maybe this is you. So find ways of calming yourself down, getting away from the screens before going to bed for at least an hour, letting your body, your mind just calm and relax. Turn down the lights, maybe do some reading, some yoga, some things to put you into a relaxed state so that it's easier for you to sleep. There's also herbal teas, there's essential oils that you can do to help calm your body, calm your mind so that you can sleep. And also with what you eat and when you eat, that also has a big part to play in it. Because if you do a heavy meal and then you're soon, like a couple hours before bedtime, then your digestion is having to deal with all of that. Your liver's having to work overtime dealing with this meal, and that will keep you awake and make it difficult for you to sleep. So you want to look at your overall self-care and your lifestyle, your diet, and how you're doing your day-to-day routine, and look at how you can just move into a much more relaxed flow in your routine, in your day-to-day life, getting enough sleep, getting enough exercise, watching your diet, taking care of, making sure you don't have too much alcohol, that your weight's in check. And also, the biggest thing that you can do is look for an anti-inflammatory diet. There's a lot of recipe books online on Amazon that you can get, a lot of recipes that you can find on what would be a good anti-inflammatory diet. And basically, it's just eating real food. Fruits, vegetables, whole grains, real food, not the packaged, processed, fake crap that comes from a box, comes from a manufacturing plant that has no nutritional value. All of that stuff is guaranteed to increase the inflammation and create havoc in your gut. And then from there, all problems just trickle downstream into your different tissues, your brain, your heart, your lungs, your joints, everything. So you really want to take a look at your diet. And I'll give you some suggestions here. You also want to make sure that you're not around secondhand smoke, or even if you are a smoker, stop. You're killing yourself. Breathing smoke, being around smoke is one of the biggest health hazards you can be in. And as well as just too much alcohol, things that we know are really not healthy for us. And so if you do have an issue with those, then look at what is your emotional and mental association or connection or addiction to them. What's your attachment to them emotionally, chemically, that you have to reach for the cigarette and the alcohol or the drugs or whatever, and look at all of that other stuff, because that's what's driving the habit. The emotional, mental stuff drives the habit as much as the chemical addiction drives the habit of the drugs, alcohol, cigarettes. And so work on that and make some different choices and clean up your life, clean up your diet. You may not have an issue with any of these, but I don't know, for whoever's watching that, you may, or you know someone who does. So definitely look into some recipe books, some cookbooks of an anti-inflammatory diet. So let me give you a few ideas of the top inflammatory foods that you want to stay away from that create a lot of heat and swelling and redness and stuff in your tissues that makes your body not happy. So the first 5 of these in this list of 10 or 15 things, the largest chunk of them is too many animal products. Too much dairy, too many fatty red meats, cheese, processed cured meats, animal products are known to be highly, highly, highly inflammatory in the body, especially when you're eating too many of them and when the quality of those meats are very poor. They're contaminated with all kinds of bacteria, microorganisms, drugs, chemicals, stuff that was given to the animal, which is like horrific. GMO'd feed, food that the animal fed was eaten that is filled with GMO'd seed or foods. All of that stuff contributes to the quality of the meat or the animal product. It gets in your body and it creates a train wreck or a time bomb waiting to go off in the form of disease and inflammation. So cut out the excess animal product of everything. It's highly, highly inflammatory. Next we have margarine. Margarine is not even a food, so leave it on the store shelf. Margarine literally is one molecule away from plastic. Why do you want plastic on your bread, your crackers, in your gut? Think about it. Anytime you have something on the label that says a butter spread or a margarine spread or something other than just straight butter, margarine or whatever, those terms hide the fact that it's really not food, that it's really margarine, which is plastic. So stop eating margarine. If you're going to do something like that, then get actual real butter, or even there are dairy-free vegan butters and breads that you can use that are much better quality, a lot healthier for you, and they don't create so much inflammation. Too much alcohol, as I mentioned, is something that's known to create too much inflammation in the body. And bad vegetable oils, like canola oil, especially. And if it's a lot of the vegetable oils, they've been processed too much, they're cooked at too high a heat, which changes the molecular structure, turns them into trans fats, which are grossly unhealthy for you and are known to create inflammation and destroy the gut. So really look at the oils or the fats that you use, and use high quality fats and oils if you're going to, like coconut oil, avocado oil, hemp seed oil, walnuts. I mentioned coconut oil, extra virgin olive oil. You want to have a good combination of the healthy omega-3s, 6s, and 9s. You want to have them in a good ratio. In the typical American diet, you've got many times more omega-6s, which are unhealthy fats in that high amount, as compared to omega-3 fatty acids. So you really want to have them closer together, similar amount, rather than having the omega-6s off the chart and hardly any omega-3s. So look for healthy fats. And a lot of those healthy fats are ones that are not, you cannot cook with, or they can't put under high temperature because it will destroy the fat or destroy the oil. Coconut oil is one that you can cook with, that can sustain higher temperatures. But a lot of these other ones that I mentioned, like the hemp seed, the walnuts, the flaxseed, you can't heat them up. Otherwise, you'll destroy them. Okay, so food additives. Those are another thing that is in food everywhere. Just chemicals, foreign chemicals, especially MSG, monosodium glutamate, or aspartame, which contributes to a lot of respiratory problems and asthma, creates a lot of inflammation. A lot of people are allergic to those chemicals and have bad reactions to them. So if you're one of them, make sure you read the label. And a lot of food manufacturers have come up with other creative terms or names for MSG, to hide that, thinking that people will see, oh, it doesn't say monosodium glutamate on the label, therefore there is an MSG in there. However, it is because it's labeled under these other terms. So go look that up on Amazon of other names for MSG and read labels. If you see those other words on there in the label, don't get it because you're still getting MSG. Okay, sugar. Sugar is highly inflammatory and highly addictive, and it wreaks havoc with everything in your body. Our bodies are wired to run on simple sugars, meaning simple carbs from fruits, from vegetables, healthy types of sugars that the body can recognize and use. It's not made to run on white sugar. It's very destructive. It's very addictive, and there's no nutritional value in it, and it's highly inflammatory. So take the sugar out. There's a lot more other choices that are healthy for if you want some sweets. You can look towards honey or molasses, stevia. There you can also get coconut sugars. There's other forms of sweeteners, natural sweeteners that you can use if you want to have that sugary, sweet taste, which we all enjoy. So just look for other healthier choices and get the sugar out. Okay, another culprit in inflammation is refined carbohydrates. And this is all the sugar, or the pastas, the white breads, the flours that have been stripped away, have had their fiber and nutrients stripped out of them. So all you have left is a starch, which is again a simple sugar when it breaks down in the gut. There's no nutritional value in them, and they're loaded everywhere. Pastries, cakes, breads, cereals, pastas, bakery goods, all kinds of things on the market are made with like white flour, refined flour, which is like horrendous. And it's causing a lot of gut problems, not just the gluten and food allergies, but also the inflammation, which is a result of the intolerance of the gluten and such. Okay, so trans fats is another highly, highly inflammatory thing. That's something I touched on earlier. So if you have a lot of deep fried foods in your diet, you're loading yourself up with trans fats and creating a lot of problems and a lot of inflammation. So don't do fried foods, don't do canola oil, typical vegetable oils. If you're going to cook, then you can cook with some olive oil or coconut oil, but not canola oil. That's horrific. Saturated fats can be inflammatory if there's too much of them, and if they are from too much animal fat sourced. Coconut oil, when it's solid in the room temperature, it's considered a saturated fat, but it doesn't have, if you don't have too much of it, then it doesn't create the problem that saturated fats from animal fat creates. Because again, animal products, they create so much inflammation and problems in your body that even though the hamburger and the steak taste good, it's not that great for your gut and for your body. So you want to really consider reducing animal products of all kinds: dairy, cheese, meat, fish, fowl, everything. Stop eating animals. So those are some suggestions of what to avoid. Now let me give you some suggestions of what to eat. And it's basically fruits and vegetables, things that the earth made, whole foods, healthy foods that reduce the inflammation in the body and help maintain proper levels of the CRP, the C-reactive protein. Okay, so you want to load up on green leafy vegetables, bok choy, celery, beets, broccoli, blueberries, pineapple, some salmon. And again, with salmon, you've got to be really careful that the fish was not fed GMO'd corn, that there's no mercury and toxins and all kinds of impurities in the water and the feed that the fish was raised in. There's so much mercury in farmed fish that you really need to source your salmon very carefully if you're going to eat it and only have very small amounts of it, and not very often. So take that with the salmon with a caveat. Walnuts, coconut oil, chia seed, flax seeds, turmeric. Turmeric is one of the best foods and herbs to help reduce inflammation. Ginger, green tea, white tea, oolong tea, dark chocolate, and again with the dark chocolate, make sure it's the real dark chocolate, high quality from the cacao nut that has not been processed. It had a lot of waxes and sugars and garbage added to it and had all of the good antioxidants and minerals and nutrients removed. You want to have good quality dark chocolate. Black beans, red peppers, tomatoes, spinach, extra virgin olive oil, garlic, apples, nuts, rosemary, raw honey, orange winter squash, carrots, tart cherries, sweet potatoes, and all kinds of cruciferous vegetables like the cabbages, the broccoli, the bok choy, the kale. Those are all very, very helpful in reducing inflammation and keeping it at healthy levels. So those are some ideas for you. And you can also draw on other plant products to support you in lowering inflammation. And those are what I call the gifts of plants or essential oils. They're the lifeblood of the plant, of certain aromatic plants. And the qualities and compounds within the essential oil interacts with the chemistry of the body, and it helps the body adjust, maintain homeostasis or harmony, and affects the nervous system. It affects the chemistry of the body so that you can function optimally and properly. So I'll give you a list of some of the essential oils that are very helpful for inflammation. Tea tree or melaleuca is one that's very helpful for that. Thyme, it's also a seasonal or a seasoning herb that we use in our cooking. Nutmeg, clove, ginger essential oil. Yes, there is such a thing. It can also help with that. German chamomile, peppermint and wintergreen, lavender, frankincense, and I think I mentioned peppermint. So those are some oils that can help, and the way you would use them, you could apply them topically, you can use them in a diffuser, depending on the oil. Some oils can be taken internally, you can use them in your meal prep, or you can just put them in a gel cap and a couple of drops in gel cap and take them down as a supplement, and that will help with reducing inflammation. You can get aloe vera gel with essential oils of like peppermint and ginger and turmeric and fennel if you have a lot of gut inflammation, and mix those together, and you can take them internally depending on the quality of the oil or where the oil is sourced from, and that can really help reduce inflammation in the gut. So those are some suggestions on how you can take better care of yourself with the inflammation. I have a lot more suggestions and tips on how you can do that on my newsletter and on my website, so make sure you check me out. Below this video, I've got the link to where you can subscribe to my newsletter to get more tips on this and ways of taking care of yourself so you can create a life that you love, so that you're thriving and healthy and happy and enjoy your life. So with that, I'd love to hear from you. What kind of things do you do to help maintain proper inflammatory levels in your body? What kind of foods do you like to do? The herbs that you use. There's all kinds of other herbs that I haven't mentioned that you can still use. So I'd love to hear from you. So leave a comment below, subscribe to my channel, pass this around for those of you who find it interesting, or you know someone who could use what I shared here about inflammation. and subscribe to my newsletter, and I will talk to you again soon. Thank you.